Welcome to another Q&A office hour and strategy call. I'm just going to take a peek at our private Facebook group to ensure that we are streaming. We are also going to be streaming to LinkedIn as well as YouTube because we have some friends who are not on Facebook. There we are. All right, our audio is working. Welcome, everyone. As you enter the call, if you could please just drop a waving hand or say hello. Would love to see who is joining us today. We are going to begin with a conversation about evidence-based meal planning. You have some really cool content that is going to be included in the content drop this month. So it sparked a lot of conversation inside of our private Facebook group. And whenever I and this is a good lesson, like if you're going to be running private groups, if you ever put up a post and there's a lot of activity, either, a lot of questioning or just a lot of comments, it means that it's a hot topic and that you should repurpose that somewhere else. I have just published this morning our 13th podcast episode, and it is all about meal planning. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast, the Nutrition Content Creator Podcast, you could head over to livingplaterx.com, and there is a podcast tab there. You can listen to it either on your laptop or on the road. We are on all kind of podcast channels. So again, we're just giving you another option to connect with us and a way for us to share some really great information with you. So again, today we are going to be starting with a conversation about evidence-based meal planning. I'm going to cover the difference between kind of traditional meal planning and my approach, because traditional meal planning didn't work for me in private practice. So leveraged my expertise in the area of culinary nutrition as well as a nutrition educator to create a new method called the Mealtime Method, which some of you are familiar with, but we'll go into a little bit more depth about that today. And then I'll kind of take you through the Mealtime Method. All of our members have access to this tool. And in fact, all of our meal plans start with the Mealtime Method. It's going to make a lot more sense once I take you through the process. So I've really decided, the Mealtime Method has been around for a while. We've used it to create meal plans. We've used it to build courses. And I used it in practice with my patients when I was holding counseling sessions and doing MNT. And so I've really just gone back to that, kind of reworked it a little bit so that it becomes a really cool tool that you can use with your patients, whether or not they use the digital meal planner. The digital meal planner really is just a resource. It is a space that allows your clients to access recipes that fit their nutrition prescription, but that alone can sometimes overwhelm people. And so today, think about the Mealtime Method as really kind of step one in your evidence-based approach to meal planning. All right, we already have a question or comment. Listened this morning, great information. Oh, thank you so much. Let me just see who said that. We had somebody who listened to the podcast this morning, Virginia. Great. Thank you so much for listening, Virginia. If you enjoyed the podcast, and this goes for everybody, if you enjoy the podcast, please rate it and leave a comment. It helps us reach more people. That would be really appreciated. So thank you so much. All right. So let's get started with evidence-based meal planning and what it is. It is based in science. Everything that we do is evidence-based, right? So when applied to meal planning, it actually refers to two things. Number one, the science behind the nutrition prescription, right? So that includes everything from counseling, right? ADIME, your assessment, your diagnosis, and then the intervention is your meal plan. So it's about assessing the client, what their needs are, diagnosing a nutrition-related problem. Almost always, you want that to be intake related, right? So excessive intake or inadequate intake of certain things. And that's where the meal planning process works. So often, and this is kind of skipping ahead. So I'm going to skip ahead and then go back again. Traditional meal planning methods start with recipes, right? So here's an anti-inflammatory meal plan. Here's a meal plan that can support you with PCOS or thyroid health or nutrition and cancer prevention, right? And we often kind of lead with that, right? Like with the recipes. And that is not really an evidence-based approach because it doesn't address the second pillar, which is health behavior change. Right? If you give people a meal plan filled with recipes, it's going to overwhelm them. And it can often, hijack the behavior change process. You really want to start with, low hanging fruit, like pun completely intended. You're going to start with basically lists of foods, and you're going to allow that to drive your meal plan. And traditional meal planning methods, again, they either go right to the recipes or they use data, which is my least favorite option for generating meal plans, where you plug in carbs, proteins, fat, calories, and a computer algorithm generates a meal plan that considers a nutrition prescription. To me, and this is my opinion, that is not evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice includes so much more than just, whipping out a meal plan for a client, right? So the algorithm-based meal plans, and, now anybody can generate an Aeon meal plan, right? So they're not so special anymore. But what is special is about what you can add to the process. And you are definitely part of this evidence-based process. So that is how you are going to compete also with this more traditional method of, I just tell me what I need to eat, right? And then again, you don't want to go right to the recipes. So we are going to be in our evidence-based meal planning process. We are going to be starting with the science and what it says about a specific nutrition prescription. Today, I'm going to be using prediabetes as the nutrition prescription, but it relates to all nutrition prescriptions because almost always, actually, I can't even think of a circumstance where this is not the case. There are foods associated with nutrition prescriptions and protocols. The way that my team and I create meal plans is that we start with the list of foods. So we have the science, and then we take a look at, even before we get to the foods, actually, we take a look at compounds and nutrients that have been shown to drive positive health outcomes for that nutrition prescription. So let's visit prediabetes for the first time today. We all know, most of us on this call actually know that low glycemic index foods are going to be important. There are other things that are important, but we'll just focus on low glycemic index foods for now. So we identify foods that have a lower glycemic index, right? And then we take those foods and we put them, match them up really with the client's preferences. So through the lens of the client, so patient-centered care. Right, let's pick low glycemic index foods that honor your cultural preferences, your taste preferences, your time, your budget, your accessibility. That is evidence-based nutrition care, because all of those things that I just mentioned, that's health behavior theory. If you ignore all of that and you just jump right to a meal plan for prediabetes, it's not evidence-based care. Sorry. So I'm here to help you be evidence-based practitioners by starting with what's important. And that's the science, having the science dictate what foods are going to be part of this meal plan. Now, another traditional method, now we're going to move on to kind of the traditional meal planning methods, right? So going right to recipes or using computer algorithms to generate meal plans, or just like lists of foods, because this happened so many times when I was practicing, where patients would come into a medical nutrition therapy counseling session with lists of foods that were given to them by their physicians, right? And you can't blame the physicians. Like, they only have a limited amount of time with the patients, so they don't spend a whole lot of time on nutrition, but they thought it was helpful to give the patient, a folder filled with lists of foods and maybe some recipes. That is not totally helpful, right? It can give them some guidance, but overall, I found in practice that just overwhelmed people. Again, ignoring the process of behavior change. Oh, Barbara, welcome. Lynn, we have a lot of people joining us today. If you have any questions as I'm chatting, please pop them into the comments and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So though, those traditional meal planning methods really do ignore the process of health behavior change, specifically nutrition related health behavior change. There's a lot to consider. So you can bring huge value to the meal planning process. And that's, everything that we're talking about today. So what have I done to kind of bring the science of the prescription and also the science behind health behavior change to a method that you can use in practice? This is it. It's called the mealtime method. And the mealtime method, as I'm going to be sharing it with you today, will drive your meal plan creation process. For our members, when I say members, these are people who have joined the Living Plate RX membership. So our members have access to meal plans that already have the mealtime method built in. And we provide them with the lists and the framework that you're going to be seeing today. So we pre-populate those meal plans for you. I'm going to assume that you know nothing about the mealtime method or our meal plans, because then we'll just make sure to hit all the marks today. So the mealtime method is a framework that allows you and your client together, considering everything that we talked about in health behavior theory, right? The preferences, time, money, food access, all of that. It allows you to plug in foods in certain categories that align with a nutrition prescription. So the mealtime method framework for prediabetes is going to look a lot different than the mealtime method for, let's say, thyroid health or for athletes, right? So performance mealtime method. It's going to look a lot different, and it should. Some of them are going to be very similar. For example, our anti-inflammatory meal plan really covers a lot of chronic diseases and nutrition prescriptions. So the anti-inflammatory meal plan, you could always start with that mealtime method framework if that's makes you most comfortable, because again, it really is totally flexible. So the mealtime method is this framework. It is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you, in each category, has a number of foods that you're going to select with your client inside of that category. So I'm going to show it now because it'll make more sense as I'm talking through it. Let me see here. Can I make that bigger? Let me see if I can make that bigger for you. I think I can. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, did that help? Let's see here. Not really. All right, I'm going to hide my face. I think this is going to help a lot. There we go. Let me also say another traditional method for meal planning, and it can be used in conjunction with the mealtime method, is to pick themes for days, right? So you have Meatless Monday, Taco Tuesday, Fun Food Friday. Like, those are all great. But again, you just need to have more specificity if you are addressing a nutrition prescription, such as prediabetes. So here we are, we're looking at the mealtime method for nutrition for prediabetes. And you can see it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have them color coded just to highlight them, but the color codes don't really mean anything in particular. This is really kind of a holistic view of food. It prioritizes the quality and nutrient composition of ingredients, really, rather than reducing them to like numerical values and caloric content, and also like the macronutrient percentages, right? It's just food, right? Which I love about this. Amy, welcome. So glad to see you here. So this kind of approach really aligns with a modern understanding of nutrition science, which underscores the importance of nutrition density and overall healthiness of our diet, rather than just kind of calories in, calories out. So whenever my team and I are asked to create a meal plan around a particular protocol, we never start with recipes or data. We start with the whole foods that contain nutrients and compounds associated with driving positive outcomes for a particular nutrition prescription. We then use these foods to create recipes and a plan that at the end of the day really gets to the right mix of foods on the plates of your clients. So you can see the first category is the really the food category that should be most well represented in your client's kitchen, right? In their kitchen space, their pantry, their freezer, and their kitchen. Low glycemic index vegetables, 6 selections per week. This does not mean 6 servings per week. Don't get me wrong. What we're saying, you can basically look at this as a grocery list. What we're saying is that these 6 foods should be brought into your home this week, because we are going to be using these 6 foods to make recipes on your meal plan, or just put together snacks or even no cook options. So these include low glycemic index vegetables, includes vegetables with a lower glycemic index. This helps support balancing blood glucose levels, which is important to our nutrition prescription. These types of foods are beneficial for like energy management, weight control. They contribute to satiety because they're full of fiber. They have antioxidants. It's like all good. Examples of foods in this category are leafy greens, like any and all leafy greens, romaine, arugula, bok choy, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, foods that are really easy to incorporate into weekly meal planning. For example, snacks. So things like cucumbers and carrots. Not everything on the mealtime method framework needs to be cooked. It just needs to be in your kitchen, and then you'll figure it out. So if you have cucumbers, carrots, and bell peppers kind of in your low glycemic index vegetable list, you've got basically snacks for the weeks that include really high quality vegetables. The second category is for our starchier vegetables. So we don't want to demonize any food. Like, all foods are great and can fit. But as it relates to prediabetes, we want to watch our intake of starchier vegetables and grains, and also things like beans and legumes. So these are rich sources of complex carbohydrates. So really important because they supply the body with really good sustained energy. They're really high in fiber. So think whole grains like whole grain pasta, brown rice, quinoa, which is a pseudograin. They're packed with fiber, they promote digestive health, and they also give a really important sense of satiety, which is important for managing prediabetes and any comorbidity that may exist. So think along the lines of like sweet potatoes, beans, winter squash, quinoa, whole grain bread, right? So we have a lot of that represented here. Also things like chickpeas and lentils. And the chickpeas and lentils can fit into proteins too. So we'll talk about that as we move along. And then we have fruits. Oh, hi, Kate. Welcome. And then we have the fruit section. So 4 selections per week. So fruits, besides providing the natural sweetness that we're going to be craving, they're really treasure troves of essential vitamins, minerals, and really potent antioxidants, especially berries. So options are vast here. So anything from berries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, to citrus fruits like apples and bananas. So again, this is like a perfect example of considering patient preferences, but also food access, right? And food budget. Maybe if it's the wintertime, your client, like, it's not in their budget to buy strawberries or blueberries. So maybe you can suggest frozen blueberries or frozen berries, or just give them other options like apples, bananas, or citrus fruits that would be lower cost and more accessible. These fruits are going to play an important role, just kind of as I see it play out on the meal plans that we create all the time, in snack and breakfast categories of meal planning. So keep that in mind. Like, if you include cantaloupe or melon in your fruit category, they're not likely going to be cooking with it. Like, maybe you can puree it and make a really cool soup, but typically that is going to fall into the snack category. And you really want to be thoughtful about the recommendations that you're making here so that your clients can kind of put together things pretty easily. So far, is this making sense, everyone? Is this making sense? Just type "makes sense." Makes sense. If this is making sense to any of you, I would love it if it, kind of triggers an aha moment for anybody. Just type in "makes sense" for me in comments if this is kind of coming together for you. Great. Yes, makes sense. Thank you, Raksha. Now we move on to proteins. Now, it's so funny. Oh, Emily is saying "makes sense!" exclamation point. Perfect. Like, are you guys loving this? We're always, as practitioners, let me just come to hello for a second so I can get to stream. Okay. Were you guys not able to hear me there? Hopefully you were able to hear me. Let me see. Yeah, no, there we are. Okay. Okay, everybody's saying "makes sense." So, as practitioners, we're always looking for like methods and blueprints and frameworks because it makes our jobs easier, but, and just more efficient. But what's super cool is that our clients and our patients, they're wanting the same thing. They want a framework. They want a blueprint. I am handing it over to you to use. Now, the mealtime method is it is a trademark name, but our members, Living PaleoRx Prime members, you are free to use it because you're paying to license my intellectual property. So if you are a Living PaleoRx Prime member, feel free to use the mealtime method, but you can call it something else that aligns with your practice. But the method remains the same. And again, my clients loved it. They would print it, they would use it as their grocery list, and eventually we're going to talk about this a little bit. Eventually you want your clients and your patients to kind of just run with this, right? The meal plan is just a resource. It is not the mandate, right? This is more essential. Get these foods into your house, and then together we'll figure out how to get them on your plate in a really delicious, simple way. Emmy is saying, this is helpful. I was curious how to use this. Perfect. Oh, great. Thank you that you could hear me. I was freaking out a little bit. Sorry. Okay, great resource. Irene and Candace. Perfect. All right, so where were we? I'm going to hide myself again just so that you can see here. Perfect. Okay, so the proteins, interestingly, is literally where everybody starts. It's like, what are you going to have for dinner tonight? I don't want you to overthink this, and don't tell me what you think the right answer is. Everybody right now, type in, what are you going to have for dinner tonight? I'm going to tell you I'm having salmon because that's an honest answer. I always start with the protein because it's not what is most on it doesn't represent most of my plate, nor should it, but it's the easiest thing. It's like, it's a protein, right? So what are you guys having for dinner tonight? Tanya, welcome. Type in what you're having for dinner tonight. Tofu, excellent. That's a great plant-based protein. Wonderful. What are you having? Jill Mungine said, what are you having for dinner tonight? You're hilarious, Jill. I love your sense of humor. I want you to actually tell me what you're having for dinner tonight. Tofu, fish tacos, great. So almost always, and this is true for clients and patients, they're going to start with the proteins, right? And if you don't know yet, Jill, you're probably going to go to the store and start with the proteins. Very rarely are people like, I'm going to have a chickpea and kale salad or a chard and mushroom saute. No, they said chicken, fish, salmon, right? The salmon, the steak, whatever. Tofu, pad thai. Ooh, Candace, can I come over for dinner? That sounds awesome. Chicken, great. Yeah. So very common for people to lead with the protein. So the protein is going to have 6 selections per week. You can, not 6, I'm sorry, 3. You can see the 3 here, 3 per week. Now, proteins play a critical role in building and repairing tissue, right? They also help manufacture hormones, and they support immune function. So they're also low glycemic index. So excellent for pre-diabetes meal plan. They contribute to a feeling of fullness after a meal. So if you have clients who are struggling with satiety and just not feeling satisfied, proteins are going to be the answer. They can come in both animal and plant sources. So I typically, for my mealtime method, will include 1 plant-based protein and 2 animal proteins. So like chicken, salmon, tofu, or turkey, cod, and tempeh. Those are typically going to be seen in my protein category. I will say that I don't often, let me just come to hello here for a second. Hello. I don't often include things like eggs and yogurt and cottage cheese, which would also fall really nicely into proteins because I consider those kitchen staples, right? You're also not seeing onions and garlic and things like scallions, right? I mean, health benefits galore, true, but it's kind of like a given. So, and they're used in so many recipes that your clients really aren't going to have to think about that too much. Almost always people will have, an onion source, garlic, and also things like olive oil. I'm not putting that in the fat category. We're really just looking at, other foods to bring in to use with your pantry staples, right? And some of these might be staples for you guys, but I want this to read sort of like a grocery list. All right, so we have our proteins, chicken, shrimp, tofu. Often we start with that. So then you can say, okay, I'm going to bring chicken, shrimp, and tofu into my house this week. Great. Now, excuse me, I'm going to turn to the category of low glycemic index vegetables. What can I do with that? So that's going to be your next stage. Let me go into the banners here. Okay. So I wasn't even using the banner. Sorry about that. So remember, we start with our nutrition prescription. This one is nutrition and prediabetes. The science behind prediabetes tells us that we should focus on low glycemic index foods, foods that are high in fiber, foods that promote satiety, and high quality proteins and high quality fats, all of which are represented here. Then you assess the patient. What are their preferences? What are their cultural foods that very important, you want to incorporate those into here before you even create the list. And then you create the list. Again, you can start with what is pre-populated here, what I'm giving to you, but you are given this in an editable format. So you can edit it based on, again, the nutrition prescription or kind of community preferences. If you serve specific communities, you can create templates for you. You don't always have to create individual mealtime method frameworks for every single client, but you can, you certainly can. Raksha is asking a question. For clients who are vegetarian and don't consume animal protein, can we delete the animal protein from the list? 100%. That goes back to step number 2, honoring preferences. So whether it's a taste preference or a dietary pattern preference or cultural foods preference, you need to consider that before you populate the selections. So yes, you should substitute chicken and shrimp if it's vegetarian. Maybe you do want to put in yogurt if that's going to be part of the regular rotation. And maybe you want to include another plant-based protein. So beans also fit very nicely in here. So beans and lentils, legumes fit in categories 5 and 3. So you can, you would go lean a little bit heavier, Raksha, into that. Okay, perfect. All right, we're still on step 3, selections. Number 2, or not number 2, the next category is healthy fats, 2 selections per week. Healthy fat, now this does not include things like olive oil, which, that's going to be used liberally, or maybe it's ghee. That's going to be used in preparing recipes. So they're going to be getting healthy fats outside of the 2 selections here, but these are like the whole food healthy fats, things like nuts and seeds. They're important for vitamin absorption, protecting organs, especially your heart and your brain. So foods that fit into this category are going to be things like avocados. So it doesn't have to be a nut or a seed. It could be a higher fat fruit or vegetable, and then nuts and seeds, which are excellent sources of healthy fats. And then lastly, the last category we have is really flavor enhancers and seasoning. So if I were to just take those first 5 categories and populate a meal plan, it wouldn't taste so great if I didn't encourage my client to seek kind of flavor enhancers. So this goes above and beyond like garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, oregano, like your typical spice cabinet. We actually provide recipes for flavor enhancers and seasonings in this category. And we encourage them to select 1 or 2 per week. Oh, June is saying makes sense. Thank you, June. It includes things like dressings, sauces, marinades, spice blends to kind of amp up the taste and the pleasure of meals that can be used in preparation of your proteins and all of your vegetables. So by adding flavors to the meals, you're just making it more sustainable and just more interesting, right? So you can swap out flavor enhancers and seasonings for pre-made ones too. Not everything has to be homemade from scratch. So if you like garam masala, you can include that there, and they have the option of making the recipe, which you can include. We have that in the meal plans. You can include on the meal planner, or you can just tell them to buy the garam masala, right? So you have lots and lots of flexibility. Connie, our superstar, welcome. So great to see you here. Julie is saying it's on my laptop, or the images are blurry. I'm sorry, it might be your laptop. It looks pretty clear to me, Julie. Sorry about that. Okay, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Remember, I'm just going to review it again. It's really important. Start with the nutrition prescription, then which is part of the assessment process. You're also going to, part of the assessment process, you're going to be working with preferences. Actually, the nutrition prescription is the diagnosis, but if the patient comes to you with prediabetes, you're all ready to go. Then you're going to assess for preferences. We actually have, I would say that the one category that clients struggled with their preferences a little bit was the low glycemic index vegetables, because they weren't eating enough of them. So they didn't have like a whole repertoire of, I have tons of low glycemic index vegetables I like. Part of the education process here is informing them what is a low GI vegetable. And so we provide our members with a low glycemic index kind of assessment sheet. So it's in your counseling tools section in your library, and it is a sheet of a low glycemic index vegetables that your clients can check. I like it, I don't like it, or I'm kind of on it, or maybe I haven't tried it yet. But if they complete that as part of the intake process, you're a huge step ahead by populating categories number six and potentially 5 as well. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the selections for the mealtime method? So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, different categories. The 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that represents the number of those foods you're going to be bringing into your house, not the number of servings. And it will depend on the number of people that your clients are serving. Because I make dinner for my family probably 4 nights a week, I can take this list to my grocery store and buy the appropriate amount of pretty much everything on the list. I know I'm feeding 4 people. I know, what their consumption rate is. So I know how much chicken to bring into my kitchen, how much shrimp, how much tofu. I know, all of it, broccoli, cucumbers. Like I have a really good feel for what my family is going to consume. If this is all new to your client, they might need a little bit more help. So we have 4 weeks. Let me just scroll down a little bit so that you can see. There are 4 weeks populated for every nutrition prescription. You find, by the way, from our members, you find these food guides inside of every course/collection. So for prediabetes, thyroid, PCOS, anti-inflammatory, brain health, they all have food guides. So you'll find them inside there. And then the last one is a blank worksheet for your clients. Raksha saying great. Good. I'm glad you like that. But, for some clients, it's not going to be as easy as, I'm just going to do week 1, 2, 3, 4. No, sometimes they have to repeat week 1 a couple of times just to kind of get a hang of the process. And that's fine too. Let me say that this is a fantastic activity to include in your digital course. So if you are offering a digital course on gut health or prediabetes, make sure that you include these food guides and get on a Zoom call or kind of inside of your EHR and work it through with your course members. Like actually walk them through it and show them how to use this. This is really, really valuable because just given this, your client may not know what to do. Okay, so now we move on to the creation of a meal plan. Any questions so far? I'm going to remove this and just come to hello for a second. Any questions before we move on to creation of the meal plan? Now we are going to be taking that guide. I'm actually going to show you the transitioning to a plant-focused diet meal plan because I completed that one already. I have added weeks 1 through 4 to my meal plan. And that guide, that framework dictates the foods that are in the meal plan for that week. So I am really making it easy for anybody who signs up for my digital course or for my meal plans to, kind of see, okay, here are all the foods I should be eating. I may or may not have known that, but now here is a plethora of resources that will support me with translating those foods into meals that my family will enjoy. All right, so I am going to share with you here. Let me add this to the stream again. Great, so Julie is asking a question. Julie, let me just open up the meal planner here. Make sure you can see that. Okay. Julie's saying low glycemic index veggie form is currently in our business and marketing tools folder. Julie, I actually think it's in the counseling folder. I'm not sure, Julie. I'll find out for you though, and I'll post it here. Okay. I'll make sure that you know that. All right. I actually left this up so that you could see it because this is new. If you missed it in the last Q&A, we have changed our drag and drop view Actually, I don't know if I covered this in the last Q&A, so I'm glad I'm covering it now. So our drag and drop was struggling a little bit on our web responsive app. So we updated it and we have improved it. So I wanted you to see that when you log into your meal planner, you are going to see a video with some instructions on how to use the new drag and drop menu. It's very intuitive, super simple. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you log in to view that, but I'll show you today what it looks like. So the drag and drop menu now holds the meal cell. So when I say meal cell, breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner, all at the same size. So if I have 3 recipes here, 2 recipes here, and 1 recipe here, they're all going to be kind of on the same line, right? Like they're going to fill the space really nicely. It was a little bit more difficult before. And then clicking and dragging also is a lot easier. You just bring it into that category and drop it. So I just clicked and dragged that recipe. Here's another example. I'll do this one for lunch. Just pull it over to the category and just drop it. And there it goes. And my nutrition facts just changed. I will be creating another training video to be included in the meal planning masterclass for you that highlights this functionality. But again, really, really intuitive. For our purposes of today, I'm going to be sharing this with you. So the plant-based, this is plant-based, but this could be my, my pre-diabetes food guide. I have created these food guide tiles and included them in the meal plan. So this food is on this meal plan. So not all of it is represented, and don't feel compelled to like, oh, I forgot to include the, some chickpeas or butternut squash, but we do a lot of that work for you. We try very, very hard to get all of these foods represented in that meal plan so that your clients have plenty of options. What you'll also notice about the food guide is the suggested meal plan recipes and convenience items. In order to be evidence-based, you have to honor the fact, and it is a fact, that nobody, well, hardly anybody, cooks breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner from scratch 7 days a week. You want to make sure that you provide them with convenience items that can support health behavior change. And that's why I include them here. So each week has some other convenience items listed here. What I'd love for you guys to do right now is type in what is your favorite kind of go-to convenience item that you always have in your pantry. And that really, really helps you with getting food on the table. I will start first by saying jarred tomato sauce, and specifically Rao's Sensitive line jarred tomato sauce. I use it probably 2 or 3 times a week for something. It's really great for helping me put things together. So this is plant-based. So I have lentils, I have kale. I can totally see myself sauteing lentils with some garlic and maybe some curry, sauteing some kale and adding jarred tomato sauce on that. That is a meal, delicious. Jill is saying canned beans. We have another fan of Rao's tomato sauce. Artichoke hearts packed in water. Susan, yes. Another convenience item for me is frozen artichoke hearts. Love them. Emily, frozen vegetables. Great. Green chilies. Love those, Tanya. Excellent. Sauce, dry pasta, quick rice. Yes. And I'll say, like, for convenience items, quick rice is great. Also, frozen rice, pre-cooked frozen rice is amazing. So think about a convenience item is something that gets the client just like one step closer to their plate. That is a convenience item. So things like a teriyaki sauce, you could take the teriyaki sauce, add here we go. We're going to do teriyaki sauce. We're going to whip it with some peanut butter and maybe some ginger. We're going to stir fry it with some tofu and add bok choy. And I'm going to serve that over quinoa. I just made a meal in 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Now, I have a lot of experience with putting these kinds of things together, but that's kind of the goal. That's where you want your patients and your clients to get. Yolanda is saying frozen riced cauliflower. Absolutely. So frozen riced cauliflower, Yolanda, I would puree that in a blender with blueberries, maybe some chocolate and some kale and maybe almond milk. And I'd make a really great smoothie with that. Chris is saying canned tomatoes. Yep, 100%. So you can edit this category inside Let me just open this tab again, make sure we're switching back and forth, right? This is completely editable. I'm inside my Canva account right now, so, right? So I can highlight these and just change them out. On this one, I included instant oatmeal. Now, you want to educate your clients, right? This is a pre-diabetes kind of meal plan that we're creating. So I will educate my client. You can use instant oatmeal. Just make sure it's unsweetened, right? That's what you want. Or if it's somebody who's watching their sodium intake, you want to make sure that it's a lower sodium. Or even just a tip to use the quick cook oatmeal instead of whole oats, right? So this is an amazing space to provide education. And it's really a happy space to provide education. Tanya is saying that she gets a lot of Trader Joe's seasoning blends mixed with Greek yogurt for dressings and sauces. Amazing. So Tanya, you build that in here for sure. Raksha, frozen spinach and wild blueberries for smoothies. 100%. All right. So you guys get the idea. You guys get the idea. Okay. Are you loving this? Just type loving this. If you're loving this, type in loving this or a heart, because I'm loving going through it with you. So just drop in a heart or just say loving this in comments, please. Okay. So inside of the meal planner on week 1, I have the food guide 1. I have another description of it here along with the image. And then you can see as I scroll down, I have week 2 here, right? So here's week 2. And let's take a look at some of let's see, we have cucumbers, arugula, cabbage. See, we have cucumbers. We have arugula here. See, here's our arugula. And look, this isn't even a recipe. Look at this. Just take 8 cups of arugula, and now you're going to make a cilantro lime dressing, because guess what? That is probably our flavor booster for this week. Sure is our cilantro lime dressing, right? So you can see it's kind of like a puzzle that you're putting together really easily. We have blackberries and walnuts and non-dairy yogurt. So no cook, and we're including walnuts. And let's see, blackberries wasn't on here, but that could easily be raspberries or grapes or kiwis, right? With your yogurt, with your non-dairy yogurt. Okay, perfect. Oh, Raksha, good. I'm glad you're going to do that. Emily, Irene, loving it. Perfect. All right. So this is the meal planner. I think that what we're going to be doing inside of the Living Plate RX dashboard is for all of our mealtime method meal plans. We're going to do this. Now you can easily delete it. If you don't want to use the mealtime method, you are not committed to doing that. You can just delete this and just use this as a regular meal plan. But I think it will be helpful for all of our members to have access to the guide inside of the meal plan as well. And just we'll make it generic. So it doesn't have our brand or anything on it. You will have access to this food guide. I do recommend that you brand it and reload it here, which you can do. You can edit this very, very easily, but you don't have to. You just want to keep it simple. And again, remember, part of the evidence-based meal planning process is to honor the fact that not everybody is ready for a meal plan. Maybe you start with the mealtime method framework and you provide them 3 recipes for that 1 week. Just make 3 recipes. It'll be easy for you to find the recipes that align with that week because you have access to the meal plan always. But maybe some clients just aren't ready for seeing everything that I just presented to you. So you do have flexibility. So that was step 4. That is how you translate the mealtime method 654321 into a meal plan, and you're bringing it full circle. You are translating the protocol and the prescription to the plate. That's simply said. Then what do? You repeat it and you repeat it and you repeat it again. Some clients and patients will be ready to move forward. You can do weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. If you are offering a digital course, a 4-session digital course, and you're in there supporting them with using the mealtime method for their meal planning process, then great, you can probably move forward. But for clients who might need have it go a little bit slower, or maybe they're just not comfortable with a digital meal planner, you use the digital meal planner as a resource and you bring those resources to the client as part of the mealtime method. I promise you, your clients and your patients are going to love this because everybody loves a process, a blueprint, a framework. Just like Tell me what to do. Give me a system to implement it, and I'll get it done, right? But they are going to need your help. Almost always the clients and patients who are coming to you lack culinary confidence on some level. If they don't, just give them the mealtime method sheets and they'll be able to just kind of hit the kitchen and go. But almost always they're going to need some type of culinary support. You can send them cooking videos that kind of fulfill some of the ingredients on the mealtime method, just like so many great creative ways that you can add value to whatever offer and whatever process you're taking your clients and patients through. So you're just going to repeat it. The idea is that your clients will no longer need a meal plan. It's so interesting when I reflect on my experience with developing and actually using this meal planner in practice, because for me, success was not having a client follow the meal plan. My success was the client coming into the counseling room saying, I think I'm good. Like, I don't think I need the meal plan anymore. I've got a repertoire of recipes now that I'm like humming. Like I know what I'm going to be making my family every week. Think about how you operate in the kitchen. If you are like most people, you have a repertoire of a certain bank of recipes. Now, for some of us, maybe like 8 recipes. Like my mom was a working mom in the 60s and 70s, feeding 5 very hungry people every single night. And so she had, I don't know, about 8 recipes that she had in rotation that she knew we all loved. She could put together quickly. And that's how she was able to get, healthier foods on the table quickly. That's what you want your patients and clients to get to. That's where you don't want them to be dependent on a meal plan. That's not the answer. The answer is having them feel comfortable enough with looking at foods, understanding what foods can help get the outcomes that they're looking for, and to be able to put them together simply. They will then start using the meal planner more as a resource. None of my patients ever canceled their meal plans, but we didn't lean on them as heavily kind of as I was working with them. They were just like, I'm good. Like maybe I'll pop in every once in a while to get a fresh idea. Maybe I'm entertaining, or maybe I've got lots of watermelon in the house. Me right now. Oh, we have lots. So good right now. I need some ideas for watermelon or strawberries. Like how do I use all these cucumbers and zucchini coming out of my garden? So that's when the meal planner becomes a resource instead of it, having your patients rely on it too much. Hi, Dr. Evelyn, welcome. Good to see you here. All right. If you are just joining us now, no worries. This recording is going to remain on the Facebook group. So you'll always be able to kind of come back to that. Okay. All right. I think that is it for kind of our meal planning conversation. If you have not listened to I'm going to continue now with Q&A, because we're going to answer some questions that have been coming in about a variety of things, content and meal planning. But we're wrapping up the conversation now about meal planning specifically, an evidence-based approach to meal planning. If you have not listened to episode number 13 of the Nutrition Content Creator Podcast, please do that, because that will give you a really good foundation for what we talked about today. And then I'm actually publishing another podcast next Tuesday that is going to, is it next Tuesday? Yes, next Tuesday. That's going to be all about the mealtime method. So really covering, again, what we're talking about here today. Julie is saying, did you charge your clients for the meal planner, or was it included? They were charged because I was in network with insurance companies. So they paid for that. That was an additional expense. So their insurance paid for the MNT, and then they paid extra for things like cooking classes and also the meal planner. Now, that was 7.5 years ago. There wasn't a whole lot of digital activity Now I'd have so many more resources that they could opt into. And I would definitely be offering those if I was still practicing. All right. So let's move on. So make sure you go to the Nutrition Content Creator Podcast. We are on every podcast channel, but you can also go to livingplaterx.com and find it there. Okay. Julie is saying, comfortable sharing price points. Oh, Julie, we can let's talk about that in the private Facebook group. Pricing it always depends. It depends where you live. It depends what you're including. Like I generally speaking, don't recommend just selling meal plans a la carte, right? If they are part of a package, that tends to work better. So if you are offering meal planning services, let's just say you're selling a mealtime method kind of framework experience where your patients are going to be guided through 4 weeks of using this method and translating it into meal plans, it could be a higher price point, right? Right now, it's all over the place. I mean, I think people offer meal plans for as low as $9 a month and as high as $250 a month. It really depends what you're adding to it. And also, it depends kind of on your authority within your community. It's very hard, and we're going to talk about this a little bit right now too. Actually, why don't I just bring that up? In terms of selling digital products, really depends on your authority within your community. If you already have established authority and know, like, and trust factor, you will be able to sell things a la carte, like meal plans, like an ebook, like a package of handouts, right? But that only can happen once you've established that authority and that know, like, and trust, and you have, really solid community already who will buy products from you. You're just not going to be able to sell it kind of out of the gate if you don't have that. So there's always a lot of promises coming from other meal planning companies saying, yes, sell meal plans. It's a great source of passive income. Yes, if you've already established authority within your community and you have kind of built a nice community already. So yes, you can sell digital products, you can sell ebooks, you can sell handouts, all of that. You can sell digital courses, but not everybody is ready for that yet. And you don't necessarily just want to price it, prices. You don't want to necessarily just have a race to the bottom in terms of price. So if you don't have authority, I don't think that just offering it for like dirt cheap is really going to move the needle for most people. I think it's really the authority that sells it and kind of the engagement from your existing community that's going to sell it. I would rather see those who don't have larger established communities and a presence. I would rather see you using those meal plans and incorporating them into your practice, incorporating your ebooks into smaller packages. It doesn't always have to be like this big built out course. We give you that as a member, you already get access to that, but it doesn't always have to be that way, right? It doesn't always have to be a $500 course or a $1,200 course. It could just, be a smaller package. So, Julie, I would say that you need to experiment with it. See what your community will buy, right? And you don't know until you put it out there. So avoid trying to race to the bottom. The lowest price isn't necessarily always going to sell. It's going to be the value that sells. So what value is this meal plan bringing to the person who's going to be buying it, right? Are they getting some of you? Are they getting the mealtime method? So I would rather you think about that than just the price alone, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. So selling digital products, we covered that, right? So we had a question in our Facebook group about, can I sell ebooks and can I sell meal plans to generate passive income? Of course you can. But can you is another question. And you don't really know until you put it out there, right? So, and it never feels good when you put something out there and it doesn't sell. And I've done that a lot, but you learn from that, right? So if you offer meal plans for sale a la carte and nobody's buying them, then it's not going to be an option for you, right? So you really just need to get it out there and see. And if you have some uptake and some people who, purchase it, great. And then you can scale that. But you need to start first by just making the offer, right? So if you don't know what the price point is kind of in your area, do some research or have an intern or a VA support you with doing some research on what people in your area are selling meal plans for. And, just because it's on their website and it says, $89 doesn't mean necessarily that they're selling it, but it does give you a good idea of kind of the market. So, right. So Julie, my answer is really, it depends so much on market, on community, on kind of authority in your community. And you really just need to do the research and start with a price point somewhere. Okay, because what worked in my community isn't necessarily going to work in yours. All right, so next we're going to talk about customized font size on the intro page for a PDF. So I am going to, anybody have any questions about selling digital content? If you are a Living Plate RX member, you can sell your digital content. And you can sell it as your own. You're licensing my intellectual property. If you decide that you're no longer going to be a member, then you have to stop. Then you can no longer sell it, and you can't even use it or any rendition of it in practice. But as a member, you do have a license to use the content and use it however best serves your practice. So you can sell it or you can incorporate it into packages. Okay, let's see here. All right, so now we're going to talk about customizing the intro page for your PDF. So I'm going to share my screen here. Again, I'm going to take myself out of it just so that you have a better view. Okay. So here's our meal plan. I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to go into Prime where we have, hi, Amanda, welcome. Good to see you here. I'm going to go into Prime here, and let's just see. I'm going to go into my methylation challenge. Actually, you know what? I think I did it in the plant-based one. Let me do that here. So you go into configure. So the PDF, let me just share with you what the PDF looks like. If you're new to Living Plate RX, you can generate PDFs of a meal plan, right? So you can with a few clicks generate an ebook. This helped us compete with meal planning companies who generate ebooks as their part of their meal plans. Like, I'm not a huge fan of PDF meal plans because they're static and they, generally speaking, kind of screen more mandate than kind of flexibility, but they can be helpful in practice. So we make it available to you. So all the way down at the bottom of your signature planner, you will see PDF settings, and you can include a picture of yourself. You can include some content here, which you should do. You can change the cover page. And the question coming in is, can I change the size of the content here? Because it was coming up a little small for one of our practitioners. So let me share with you, go back to my dashboard, what it will look like when you increase the font. So in order to increase that font, you simply type out, and just go to plant-based demo. You simply type out the content that you want in the size font that you want. I did it inside of a, oh, it didn't show up here. Okay. So I did it inside of a Google Doc, and then I pasted it here. So you can do that, and it should come up as the larger size. The Frola widget that we use here doesn't necessarily let you pick the size. So if the size of the font is not big enough for you, simply go into Google Documents, type something out that is of the right size here. Let me just copy and paste something here. I have something here that is a good size. I'm just going to paste this in here, right? So it will print just like that versus the smaller, kind of unbolded version. All right, so experiment with that and see if you can get that intro page to look the way that you want it to. I'm going to share with you what the intro page will look like. I'm going to go back to my methylation challenge, which I uploaded for that already. It's right here. Go into the planner. And this is, for those of you who haven't generated a PDF meal plan yet, this is where you do it. Close this. And the PDF icon is up here, upper right-hand corner. You click on that. You just see, here's my intro page here, and you generate the PDF. And you'll notice the font is kind of small on that page. So we've made it so that, you can include as much content as possible. But if you're only including like a brief introduction, then you might want to make this bigger. Okay. Great. All right, let's go back and we'll continue with answering questions. If you have any questions about the PDF, now's a good time to ask. Raksha is saying she's interested in a VA, however, need companies who offer VA. Oh, Raksha, can you DM me? There is a company that provides VAs specifically for registered dietitians, and I think String Marketing is helping us too with that a little bit. So we'll give you resources. Okay. All right, this actually, Raksha, this is important to the question that you asked about a virtual assistant. If you have a virtual assistant or a dietetic intern, how can you support them with helping you with Living Plate RX products, right? Like you have all of these resources. You have an entire library of resources. You can't just send them in there and say, go do the work. Right? There's a learning curve, and we provide you and whoever is working with you with support in learning how to do that. So what you're going to do when you hire a VA or you bring on an intern, the first thing they're going to do is go through the Nutrition Content Creation Academy. The Nutrition Content Creation Academy, let me just go into the library to show you guys where that all is. Okay, just open this up here and then we'll share that screen. Here we go. All right, you're seeing this now. Perfect. All right, here's our library. And you'll see right after the front desk, which they can review too, that's just brief, you're going to see 2 master classes, which they should complete if you're going to have them do meal planning and working content for you. And then the academy is next. It's called the Nutrition Content Creation Academy, and it is packed with information that teaches them how to use, like all how-tos. How do you find an ebook? How do you brand an ebook? How do you edit an ebook? It's all here for them. I do have to update it. So if you can be patient with me while we do some other things first, that would be great. But we are going to be updating this, but I still think it's a super, super valuable resource for anybody who is going to be assisting you. All right. Also, getting started. Wow, the same thing. That was a question that we've gotten. We have a lot of new members coming on each week, which is fantastic. I love seeing all of our new practitioners joining us. You know, my hope is that Living Plate RX is really just a part of, let me just add myself to the screen here so I can say hello, is just part of doing practice. Just like any other tool that you use for your practice, you know, you have an EHR and then you have Living Plate RX, and then you hire somebody to support you with marketing. Those are really the 3 pillars that you need to fuel a private practice. You need content, you need a vehicle to deliver that content, and then you need the marketing to get it in front of everybody. So we will support you in growing your practice, and this is where you're going to start. In the library, there is a masterclass for meal planning, and let me just scroll down so you can see that. Where is it? There we are. There's a masterclass for meal planning, and there's a masterclass for library. So with Living Plate RX membership, you get access to content like courses, cooking videos, blog posts, social media posts, really everything that you need to fuel your practice. And you also get access to the digital meal planner. Raksha is saying, loving your content and your energy. Thank you, Raksha. Some people find my energy annoying, especially if they haven't had their cup of coffee for today. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Yeah, super high energy person, especially when I'm talking about something I'm so passionate about. And I really am. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I was a private practice dietitian on like the serious struggle bus, ready to wave the white flag. I was ready to say the past 12 years I've spent was for nothing because I can't do this. I cannot create all the content for my practice and actually practice at the same time. So this is going to become a standard for practicing dietitians and really anybody who follows a food as medicine, runs a food as medicine practice. Okay, Susan is saying, I'm having difficulty getting into my library. 100% of the time, Susan, this is an email issue. So DM me from inside the Facebook group and we will get you the right email address. 100% of the time, that's the problem. And it's not a problem. It's just that sometimes when people sign up for courses or special events, they use different emails. So it is likely, Susan, that you have several Kajabi emails. We just need to consolidate them. That's all. It's a really, really easy fix. So we'll get you access. Don't worry. Okay, so getting started, go right to the library. That's where you're going to get started. All right, so plant-based chefs access. So Plant-Based Chefs is done. It is loaded inside of Kajabi. Let me just bring that up for you. I really want to share this with you. Hold on. Let me go back and let me open this up. Any questions so far as we come to the end here? Let's do, I'm just going to search for it here and open it up for you. Excellent. Now for things that are in process or like in review, I'm going to share this with you. We have it marked as, oops, let's see, we want this shared instead. Okay, sorry, had you in the admin bucket. Here we go. So here is Chef's Plant-Based. I have it marked as in process because we're still, honestly, I think that so many eyes have been on this and we continue to find things that we want to improve about it. So we're still changing things around a little bit, but you can absolutely dive in. You are going to have access by the end of this week. That is my promise to you. And I am going to make sure that the hang up right now, honestly, is really those practitioners who paid for additional access for chefs. So our members who have joined us this year or last year, so basically paid that $7.99 per year and up. So if you're $7.99 or $8.99, this is included in your membership. At that level of membership, I am able to pay our collaborators for this program. If you were paid less than that, either through your EHR or you are a founding member, there's an additional licensing fee of $99 per year. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be assigning that, with your permission, I'm going to be assigning that $99 per year license into your annual membership. So it's only going to be one, which I'm sure you're going to be happy about, because getting two statements is not as desirable as just getting one. So we're going to be sending out an email before Friday to all of those members who have opted into that $99 license, and we need your permission to upgrade your subscription to include that. Once it's included, it's just going to be on autopilot, and you will not only have access to the chef's kind of OG and plant-based, but any future culinary skills program that we do with our partners. So we're talking about doing a community-based program. I can definitely see like a kids program being in here. So just keep in mind that that license will stay the same. It will not increase in price, and you will continue to have access to all the products. Again, for those of you who recently joined us, this is included in your membership. So you are going to be sent an activation code. All you need to do is activate it. Not everybody wants access to these programs. They are long and not complex, but they're intense and they're super useful. You can use them however you want, but you can see I'm scrolling down to the left. You can see how much content is included. These are culinary skills programs. They are generic. They do not reflect any one particular nutrition prescription. That's all the other content in the library. All right, Susan, we'll get you up and running, Susan. Don't worry about that. Just DM me to remind me and we'll get that done. Okay, so plant-based chefs, we're going to get everybody access. We had a question, which is great, about WordPress versus Kajabi. And this is great because we're having a special event this week and we're going to be answering this question in more depth. Somebody in our Facebook group asked about, is it better to have your website on Kajabi or is it better to have WordPress? From my understanding, it's better to have it on WordPress. Now, I have a lot of things on Kajabi. I have courses. I have, funnels. I think funnels are easier inside of Kajabi, but there is a solution that String Marketing is working on for our community that kind of gives you all that Kajabi gives you inside of WordPress by using Go High Level. So WordPress is kind of the gold standard for website development and hosting. I think you just have a lot more control. It's better for SEO. Kajabi is really great it's an LMS, right? Basically, it is a learning management system. You can host a website on Kajabi. It's just not optimal. If you're building it yourself, it's pretty easy to use and you can do that. You can start there. But I think ultimately you would want a WordPress site. And if you really, I'm looking to just be more efficient, I'm going to be saving a ton of expenses by having String Marketing put Go High Level on my WordPress site, because Go High Level does everything that Kajabi does. And it also adds things like social media scheduling. So I won't need Calendly. I won't need Planoly. I won't need Kajabi. I won't need all of these things that I'm paying for. Now, email service provider, I'm going to be saving a lot of money. So I'm really excited about it. And Stephanie and her team are working really hard with some core practitioners right now to see what that looks like. Because as a Living Plate RX Prime member, you are going to be able to have that Go High Level put onto your WordPress site with all of the Living Plate RX courses. So that'll be really exciting with all the landing pages and the email sequences and all of that. So I know that's a lot to digest right now, pun completely intended. But what's so great is that we're having this special event on Thursday. So this Thursday, it is going to be a live event like I'm going now, so you don't have to register for it. Just show up inside of the Facebook group. I believe it's at 2:30 Eastern time, almost 100% sure. I will confirm that with you in another email. In my Friday email last week, I did send the schedule. So pretty sure it's this Thursday at 2:30 in this group. We are going to be talking about how you optimize course delivery in your practice. So Karen Reiser is going to be on the call. For those of you who don't know who Karen is, she is a registered dietitian who hosts coaching calls for us. Karen Reiser, by the way, is also available for private coaching. If you'd like, not business coaching, but private in terms of how do you get the most out of Living Plate RX materials inside of your practice and inside of your EHR. She's a real pro at that. She's a practicing dietitian, so she really gets it. And she's going to be joining us on Thursday. And then, of course, the Stephanie Hoffenke is going to be joining us from String Marketing. Stephanie has built more dietitian websites than pretty much anybody. Really, does website development for experts, top experts in the field. So she knows her stuff. She knows the tech. She knows Go High Level. She knows WordPress. She knows Kajabi, and she knows Living Plate RX. So if you're interested in learning more about incorporating the courses into your practice, please join us on Thursday. There will be a recording for you for those of you who can't join. I know it's a little bit last minute. And if you are listening to us now on LinkedIn or YouTube, please join our private Facebook group, Scale Your Nutrition Practice. Tons of lively conversations going on there. And it's a very supportive community. And we hold events just like you saw today there, along with some other private events. So join me on Thursday. Okay, terrific. No other questions? Because we're wrapping up now, pretty much on time, only 9 minutes late. That's great. Thank you so much for joining me. This recording will remain on the Facebook group, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. If you are watching the recording and you have any questions about the evidence-based meal planning, the mealtime method, or any of the Q&A that I covered today, tag me at Jeannie Petrucci or at Living Plate, either one. I'll get it and I'll pop in and answer the question for you. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Have a great week. Bye.